What's good, YouTube? What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back welcoming you to Answering the Bell with Stormybman for this Sunday, November 21st, 2021. And we are fresh off the heels of another big fight where we had last night. Terrence Bud Crawford took on Showtime Shawn Porter in a battle for his WBO welterweight title. And we'll talk about that a little bit this morning and get you guys involved on the conversation and let me know your thoughts and feeling. You know, I had expressed what my thoughts and feelings were as soon as this fight was announced. A lot of people kind of condemn me, ridicule me and everything, but that's okay because people are entitled to their own opinions. But you always have to understand when I talk about what my position is in talking the sport of boxing, covering the sport of boxing, giving my advisement on the sport of boxing. It is done with, you know, my own particular flavor. So that's what I wanted to say about that, you know, coming in this morning. But welcome everybody that's out there. Let me see. Want to kind of get into a little bit of a roll call. We got Boxing and Barbecue out there. He says, Stormy, I have no words. Chi-Town Finest is out there and says, can't wait for this call-in show, Sensei. Let's get it. Big Homie Coop is out there saying, salute Sifu. Backsmack the like button, people. And class is in session, so pay attention. Salute to all the family in the chat. Yes, sir. And we got, excuse me, I'm checking out my glasses here. King Jr. is out there saying salute Stormy B-Man in chat. Mr. Gumbo is out there and has decided to become a channel member. We appreciate that, Mr. Gumbo. Big Homie Coop saying the audio is low, Sifu. Is that for just you or is it low for everybody? You guys let me know out there in the chat if the audio is low for everyone because I thought I had did a check on my specs and it appears that all my settings are up, so like they're supposed to be. So can someone else let me know if it's just for Big Homie Coop or is it for everyone? Because sometimes, you know, depending on what shows you've been listening to and everything, you have to make adjustments on your personal devices. But my settings are the same as they were last night. Where else am I here? We got Jay Gibson out there saying salute to Stormy B-Man and the family. Mr. Gumbo says I will be right back, family. And he's using one of the channel member emojis. Okay, yeah. See, Big Homie Coop, I didn't even touch anything, so that was on your end or something, bro. I don't know, but I appreciate you letting me know because when something is wrong, if the guys in the chat don't say nothing, you know, we don't know what's happening. So, but I hadn't changed anything from last night's post-fight show, which is why I was kind of solid on feeling that it's not on my end. Boxing and Barbecue says, no, you good on me. Okay, cool. But Mr. Gumbo used one of the channel emojis. It would really make me feel good if you guys exercise that option to use those channel emojis because they're fun and they're created for you guys. So just take note of that. You know what I mean? It's like that's what they're there for. So yeah. So yeah, welcome to the show, man. It's good to be back on the Sundays. You know, I had taken a couple of them off because you know, I had this pinched nerve and getting over that is like, you know, in a much better place. Let's just put it like that. But I still have to have some more work done. Doctor's got to check me out a little bit more. Going to get an MRI because the pain is still there. It rises and it subsides a little bit, but never goes away. I don't know if I got a tear or what, but man, it's tough. So, but yeah, we are here this morning, man. We're gonna talk about the fights from last night and what's next for Bud Crawford. We're gonna talk a little bit about Showtime Shawn Porter deciding that fresh off of the bout, he's thinking about he wants to hang it up. And the one thing about that is, hey man, it's always difficult to see yourself continuing on when you've suffered a loss like he did, and you might question your love and everything for the sport, but you just need time. Time heals wounds, and Showtime Shawn Porter may need that time. He may need that time to get himself together. He may need to refresh and recharge his batteries or whatever. Even though he stated that he felt like win, lose, or draw, he was going to give it up after this fight. And he also stated that, even if it were like, if he was victorious, there was a rematch clause and things of that nature or whatever, he wasn't going to go through with that. That's what he indicated. So, but we'll figure out, what's what going forward with that, man. It's like I said, it's fresh still, and you have to give fighters a chance to lick their wounds after bouts to see what their next steps will be, and that's whether they win, lose, or draw. A lot of guys just need time, man. You've been in there getting punched in the face, you know what I mean? And you need recovery time. So salute to Dwayne Jones out there. He says, bless up from Atlanta. Salute to you. Daryl Alexander is out there saying, Spence ran out the arena like, yeah. Oh, man. It would have behooved him to hang around, man. But I don't like this back and forth game that is being played between he and Bud Crawford. Be a professional, man, and that's for both guys. Be a professional and show the people that you're interested in what the other person's doing because you want to pit your wares against theirs. Anything outside of that, man, is just TV drama, reality TV drama. And you guys could go sit down somewhere, both of you, with that foolishness. So, those are my thoughts on that. And these guys, they really need to get it together when it comes down to that. Allow me to take my headset off here so we can get cooking. But I hope that a lot of you guys had a chance to check out my post-fight show last night, myself in Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, where we gave our rundown on what we thought was happening in the fight, with the fight, everything from how it went and, how it ended. I just, at the end of the day, saw Bud Crawford as a better fighter. And I stressed something during last night's show that I'm going to reiterate today. I truly believe he had difficulty motivating himself to hurt Shawn Porter. And, some of you might question that or whatever, but it's just that I followed the young man for a long time, since he was down in the lightweight division. And I never saw him perform like that last night. And this has nothing to do with Shawn Porter or what he was. Shawn was always going to do what he was going to do. But it was almost like Bud was being held back or was holding back. And he just found it. Even when Shawn was doing some rough tactics in there, he was smiling and kind of like, it wasn't a big deal. But he did send Shawn a message about being physical in there. And he showed a physicality that Shawn wasn't expecting. Both lifting him up and pushing him back and things like that, being very physical. I remember at one sequence during one of the rounds where he was throwing that check hook and he cuffed Sean behind his head and threw him into the ring post. That was with one arm. He allowed him to carry his momentum with him straight into the ring post. So Terrence Crawford's not a little guy at welterweight, people. He's not. He's a man now. He's 34 years old. He's a man. And for anyone out there that doesn't want to respect that, you can get in that ring with him. He'll show you. Huh? He will show you. So that's something to take into consideration. So, but I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines early this morning because I want people to be able to call in and give their take and listen to me, Salute to the brother Drew Titan, LLC. I see you out there. He says, let's hear it, Sensei. Hey, man, I think everything spoke for itself. When I was saying I went on how many channels, been on how many panels over the past month, I keep saying, I was writing it in all of you guys' chat. I was like, Porter getting knocked the fuck out. That's what, those were my words. But now that the fight is over, it's on to the next one. It's like people were like, I'm crazy or don't know what I'm talking about and everything. You're going to learn about that. But at the same time, my fight breakdown videos covered everything from soup to nuts, as my brother Kurt Sugar likes to say. I even put in there that one way, because I think I was on Divine Sense panel, and they were asking me, okay, no, because I've been on Divine, I've been on Tay Jones. I think it was Tay Jones, and I Am Trill Will was on there, and he's like, well, give me a scenario of how you see Bud winning the fight by knockout. And I broke it down. I said the fact that the man can use angles, and Sean comes in a lot of times with his head down, looking at the floor. That's one of the ways. Let's see what we got here. We got a caller coming in. Okay, we got 254 in the building. Who we got? Who's calling? Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Did we get that? That's interesting. This thing popped up on the screen again. What the hell? I gotta figure out how to turn this thing off because it's always interrupting my show. What is this? Get off my screen. I can't get this thing off my screen. Caller, whoever that was, call back again, please. I had a pop up on my screen. I couldn't get rid of it. So please call back one more time. And I don't never know how to get that damn thing off of my screen when it pops up. It pops up right as the guy called. So go ahead and call back, caller, please. 254, whoever you were. Okay, 254, this is Stormybman. Who's calling? What's on your mind? What's on your mind?
Good morning, Stormy. This is Jared Living Green.
Hey, Jared, what's happening, man? I apologize for that. As soon as you started calling, I had a pop on my screen where I couldn't answer the phone. So it's like it's gone now. But go ahead, bro. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing all right, man. Just want to give my thoughts on a fight that I knew predicted was going to happen. Shouts out to Sean Porter. He, made a competitive fight, but of course the technician, Bud, was able to figure him out and get him out of there. It's going to be an interesting fight versus Errol if they make the fight. It's going to be very interesting. One thing that you pointed out, how Bud was basically out muscling Porter, because Porter tried to bully Bud, but it wasn't going to happen. And I think it comes from Bud's wrestling background. Me and my brother used to be wrestlers, so we know all about that extra aggression. So, I wasn't surprised that Bud was doing that to Porter. But what are your thoughts, Sensei?
Well, it's more than him having wrestling background. That helps with tossing and jockeying for position. But Bud is a strong young man. It's like you have men who have man strength but don't look like it. You know, they that bone skinny guys that have that. You know, it's like that's just an aberration. It's something that you don't know about. But I'll tell you this. That was the biggest I ever seen him at welterweight since he's been there. If you look at him last night, his body has filled in as a welterweight. I've said this many times before that the best time to get at him would have been when he first moved up after he defeated Jeff Horn, because he was already skilled enough to give people problems. But he has grown into that weight now. He's every bit the welterweight that Earl Spence and Danny Garcia and Keith Thurman are. But the difference between him and those three men that I just mentioned, he doesn't get out of shape. So he keeps his frame. Keith Thurman looks like he's 200 pounds sometimes. Earl gets up into the high 180s, if not a 190 or something like that, or has in the past. Danny Garcia gets awfully big. But Bud stays very close to fight weight, man. He in that effect is like a throwback as well, because the throwbacks wouldn't allow themselves to get too far away from fight weight, because you never know when you might have to rumble. And you don't want to be caught off guard with fat camps. You want to be able to drop the weight within a couple of weeks and then be ready to work on your game plan. And I think that that's one of the things that Bud has been able to maintain since he's been a professional. Look at all these other guys. They blow up in weight and they got to train down and this and that. And then they don't fight very often. So it adds to the heap of what personal problems can be. And then when you start factoring in the men who burn the candles at both ends, eat terribly because their diet is bad, or even alcohol or whatever, you know, those things factor, man. I remember George Foreman, when he came back in his second career, he was doing an interview on ESPN when he was about to fight Evander Holyfield. And he said that, you know, when he retired from boxing originally, he became an ordained minister and he was preaching in the church and everything. And he said, I haven't had a party in 10 years, because it was 10 years that he had come back to the sport of boxing. He said, I haven't had a party in 10 years. He said, if you've had a party within the past few months or had a beer or something like that, you ain't going to beat George Foreman. That's what he was saying.
Yeah.
And I can kind of see Bud Crawford lives by that credo himself, because he doesn't allow himself to get woefully out of shape. That's half the battle. And for some of those that think that he was, you know, being handled in there by Porter last night, he wasn't even breathing hard late in the fight. He wasn't breathing hard at all.
They don't know what they talking about. Porter was in Porter fashion, landing punches, but Terrence was just getting started. He calculated, Porter and got him out of there.
Porter did not
So you're absolutely right.
Porter did not expect the physicality that Bud displayed. And when I say the physicality, no, he wasn't in there wrestling with him or nothing like that. But when he did run in on Bud and Bud decided to stand ground and do something back or whatever, Porter was impressed. He was shocked. That's why a few of those times he stayed on the outside and was just trying to survey how he wanted to attack. But he knew he didn't want to just go rushing in because he could get caught with one of Bud's shots. But what I was looking at was Bud looked like he didn't want to hurt the guy. That's what he looked like. Go back and look at any of his other welterweight fights, and you'll see he attacks people with a certain venomous approach. He wasn't doing that to Sean last night. In fact, he found himself laughing and grinning at Sean and because it was like they were in the gym. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something. Between round 9 and 10, sitting on the stool, I mentioned this last night on my post-fight show, he made communication with someone outside the ring. You had Bo Mack on his left side, his cut man was on his right side working on his eye, and he looked over outside the ring to his right, and he was communicating with somebody, and he mouthed the words. You could go back and watch it. He mouthed the words, "I got to go get him." Okay, he said, okay, I'm going to go get him. The bell rings, he gets off his stool, he goes over there, and within the next few seconds, just like that Martinez and Galahad fight, Sean was on the canvas. That was the only time in the entire fight that he really attacked Sean like that. And the fight was pretty much over. Once Sean hit the canvas, the fight was over. Not that Sean was knocked out, but that was the beginning of the end of him. Because Bud is one of the best, if not the best, finisher in boxing. And allow me to say this. That's why Kenny Porter stopped the fight, you guys.
Thank you. I was about to ask you that question.
Kenny stopped the fight because he knows that Bud is one of the best, if not the best, finisher in professional boxing, and he did not want his son to be seen like a lot of those other guys that Bud has finished off. He didn't want that. Yeah, Sean could have continued it if Kenny didn't stop it, but Kenny stopped it for that reason. He didn't want y'all to see that. He didn't want to see that for himself. He didn't want his son to be battered by Bud Crawford when he knew going into this fight that Bud was better than Sean. He knew that, which is why he also spoke of bringing additional eyes and ears and brains into the camp because he wanted to get as much as he could on how he can beat this kid with Sean, because Sean don't have the talent he has. Sean got all the heart in the world, but he doesn't have the skills or technical capability. Sean has won a ton of fights on heart alone and being in great condition. But you need a little bit more at the championship level when you're dealing with an A-class fighter. Bud Crawford is an A-class fighter, regardless of who out there don't like him, regardless of who out there got somebody else that they want to give the love and support to. That man has been pound for pound since he was at a lower weight class. And there is a reason why some of those named welterweights didn't want to get in there with him. You guys are currently talking about Keith Thurman ducking Jaron Boots Ennis. Oh, I don't know who he is. So y'all say that's a duck. Well, Bud's been at welterweight for how many years now? And he said when he came up to welterweight, that was the first person he wanted was Keith Thurman, because Keith Thurman had the belts first. So where are we and what are we doing? It's easy to understand these things when you give credit to where credit is due and you take acknowledgement for, what's happening. People want to acknowledge Jaron Boots Ennis right now. Well, as soon as he has a step-up fight against a veteran fighter or a former champion that can really test his mettle, there's some things we don't know. But you guys were like out there questioning Bud, who had gone through the best of the divisions prior and has now arrived at welter. And he said, I want all those guys. He said that when he defeated Ndangu. He said, I'm going to move up to welterweight. And they said, any guy in particular? He's like, oh, I want all those guys. That's what he said. But several years removed, here he is just now getting Sean Porter, who happens to be somebody he cared for, a good friend of his. And he told Sean, I really don't want to fight you because they're trying to stick you out there to gauge how I might do against you because you fought all the other guys. Instead of all of them wanting a piece of me, they want to dangle you out there like a piece of meat. And that's very unfair because Sean has put his work in. It would have been nice if Bud had a chance to fight the other guys, and if he defeated them, give Sean a title fight after that so he can make a nice piece of change. And if he does happen to lose that fight, he can sail off being well paid and everything and having fought against the best guy. That's contingent upon he beating and defeating those other guys. That makes more sense to me. But now Sean is announcing his retirement and you got these other guys still out there. Ain't did nothing. What was up with Earl? Why did Earl go to the fight? Why? He been talking all that stuff, and I'm not coming down on him. But I'm saying he been talking all that stuff. If you don't care to fight Bud, if you don't care about Bud, stay your ass over there with your crew and everything. Because like he said, that fight has passed me by. But y'all want to criticize him for saying that. The man ain't wanted to do nothing but fight. You pissed off because he stayed with Top Rank. That was his choice. Bob Arum didn't want to pay him or pay his opponents. That's Bob's fault. All the anger and heat and everything should have been on Bob Arum, not on Bud Crawford, because he fight whoever they put in front of him. And now for those who want to think like, okay, yeah, he's been fighting lesser opposition and he's looking for the easy way and this and that or whatever. No. He's fighting, but there's people that don't want to get in the ring with him. I see you, Jared. Thank you for the super chat, but let me double check and see that I don't think that line disconnected. Jared, if you want to call back, you can, brother. I don't know if you were through with your questions. I just disconnected. See what we got here. Okay. Yeah, this internet be acting up. It be acting up. K-Rod, let's give Jared one more chance so he can come in and finish up his questions. Because I was a little long-winded on that myself. Okay, Jared, is that you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Did you have something else you wanted to say? I don't know how much you heard of me when you lost your connection, but I'll give you a chance to go ahead.
No, I heard when I went back on YouTube to put in that super chat, I heard some of it, the back end. Mm-hmm. But I was going to ask, because there's a lot of people saying that, because I don't want it to make it like, because I'm a Spence fan, but I knew Crawford was a beast. But at the same time, there's a lot of people saying that basically Crawford beat a battle-worn Porter.
Well, you knew that was coming, right?
Yeah.
But did the battle-worn Porter win rounds?
Yeah, he did.
Thank you. So where was he battle worn when he was winning rounds? And remember, I said this so many times, it ain't over until the final bell rings or somebody gets stopped inside the distance. So if we in the 8th or 9th round and you won 5 or 6 rounds, don't I still have a chance before the final bell?
Yeah.
And from what we saw, the man went down twice in that 10th, and his dad wasn't going to allow him to get beat up. Because do you know there still was almost like 2 minutes to go in that round?
Yep.
So that was going to be hell for Sean to survive. And not only that, the 3 knockdown rule was in effect. He goes down one more time, it's over anyway. I tell you, man, people make up all of this stuff. It's like if Porter would have knocked Bud down a few times, they would have been like, man, you know, we knew Porter was better and this and that, blah, 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 right? It's like, but Porter won rounds. He was competitive. He's supposed to be. He's a former 2-time champion. But why do people continue to create all types of stories just because they don't freaking like Bud Crawford and they like somebody else?
Because it doesn't fit their narrative.
It's so asinine because you can see this, and it's across the board in boxing. Certain, fan bases, they do these things. I stayed consistent with what I said was going to happen, and I said it on several channels and wasn't letting up. I'm one of the few people that do that. But I'm not trying to disprove anybody. I'm actually just trying to put on display the knowledge I have and the way I understand how the sport goes. I remember just like I mentioned, I was on Divine Sense and I was on Tay panel, and Tay told me, he's like, I don't know about that, Stormy. I just don't see Bud stopping him. Why not? He done stopped everybody else. And like I gave a breakdown of the difference between he and Earl Spence. Earl has thudding, heavy punch power. He don't have one punch knockout power. Bud Crawford has knocked people out with one punch, and he throws his punches in a different way. He's a sharper puncher, has very fast hands, and sometimes his punches come from angles that people don't see. That's how you get people out of there. So how is that so hard to understand? But you profess to know boxing. But this is what is a part of boxing.
You see him did you see that Benavidez fight? Both of them boys got good chins, and when Crawford, even though he had was recovering from a gunshot wound, both the Benavidez brothers got good chins. So when Crawford did that to
Jose,
just either Jose, I say yeah. Yeah. And one other question I got, I'll let everybody else get a chance. And I'll put you on the spot here, Stormy. If the fight is made, who you got? Spence versus Crawford.
Crawford. By knockout.
There it is.
By knockout. Did you hear what I said? I'll say it one more time for the people in the back who said the computer was acting up, the sound dropped off, or whatever. By knockout. And you want me to tell you why? This is an early breakdown for you. And Spence got plenty of time to work on it. But you can't fix it in one camp. You know why?
Why?
He has trouble transferring from offense to defense and vice versa. And if you go back and look at his fight against Sean, as Sean would swarm him and everything, Sean was landing shots. And Earl refused to move and give angles like Bud did and stick the jab and get himself back out to a safe place where he can get his shots off in a correct manner. He'll try to stand in there like with Bud, and he'll get caught with something. Yeah. The man hits harder than people want to give him credit for. 8 straight knockouts since he got up there to welterweight. And y'all still talking about he ain't going to do nothing to this guy. He ain't going to do. Okay. I might be the first person you listen to way before it happening. I'm telling you, he's going to knock Earl the hell out. And another reason he's going to do it is because they made him wait. This is the difference between somebody who is fighting for a greater purpose. He want to prove all of y'all wrong, all of you. He already told Bomac, and this was way before he had the car accident and before his fight with Sean Porter. He told Bomac in the training camp, I can't wait to kick this guy's ass. I can't wait to knock him the hell out. And Bomac was like, who you talking about? He was like, Spence. And he said that because they were playing games back then. He just wanted to fight. You got people talking about what side of the street and all of this. Get your ass in the ring and fight. Wasn't nobody worried about what side of the street Mikey was on. Get your ass in there and fight, man. You're a world champion. And this is no disrespect. This is calling for the best, fighting the best. Stop that 60-40 crap, because that's nothing but a wedge to put between the fighters. If Sugar Ray and all them guys were arguing over purses and stuff, they wouldn't have had the fights that they had. It's sick.
It is, and I just can't wait for that fight, because I'm an Errol Spence fan. But after following, I've been an admirer of Terrence Crawford's skill. After seeing this, I don't know, man. I still pick Spence, but I'm not gonna lie. And you've been correct these past few fights. So you've been on the roll, Sensei. So I don't know.
I've been correct more than just the past few fights, but I don't.
You know what I mean? Yes,
I don't hang my hat on that. I hang my hat on being able to break down styles and understand the fighters, understand the psychological aspect of what they bring to the ring, the things that happen in their personal lives outside the ring. All of that stuff comes together collectively to bring forth the type of effort that you'll see on fight night. All of that. And I'll tell you something, when guys keep their nose clean and they train hard and they are like top elite type like Bud Crawford, it take a hell of a fighter to beat him. Julio Cesar Chavez could not deal with Sweet Pea Whitaker. Couldn't deal with him. And guess what? Sweet Pea came up from lightweight too, just like Chavez did. And they fought at welterweight.
Yep.
Now that Sweet Pea is passed on, people want to talk about how great he was or how great of a defensive fighter he was. They don't call Bud a great defensive fighter. But I guarantee you when his day is done, they're going to be saying, man, that guy can punch for a little guy.
That's how it always goes.
Yeah. But because I'm familiar with that. They're going to do the
same thing for Wilder, watch.
Because I'm familiar with that, that's why I'm able to make the assessments and determinations that I make. You guys will move on to the next new thing. I'm studying still the old thing and what made the old thing tick, what made them great, what were the shortcomings. I'm still studying that stuff. That's why I said, for me, it's not the past few fights. Go back and watch my videos. Go back and listen to my breakdowns. Check me out on the Friday Night Chop Session when I be giving information on the show. This is how I know people don't watch my stuff. And if you don't watch it, tough tamales. But don't come in here and tell me, oh, Stormy, you was right in the aftermath. And tell me before, oh, you crazy. Because who looked crazy?
that person that was running their mouth?
It's like I said, why did Earl show up and then get up and walk out of the place? But when Bud was there, they didn't want to let him in the ring though. Remember, they say, oh, Bud got up and walked out. But they were treating him like he wasn't welcome. And he wasn't. But they were in Vegas last night, weren't they? Not in Texas.
Yes, sir.
They weren't in Texas. They were in Vegas. Did you see that stadium of people?
Yes,
but
sir.
Bud don't sell, right? You put him in there with someone, the people will come. No, they ain't going to come out for green beans and stuff. And he can't fight those guys in Vegas. But that's what I had to say about that. You asked me some great questions. I appreciate it, bro.
No problem. Like always, I'm going to go back in the chat. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, man. And nice call, bro.
All right.
All right. Peace to you.
Peace.
Yes, sir. It is what it is, man. All I want to see is the best fighting the best, as we said so many times, right? That's all I want to see, man. But I can be critical. I've been critical of Bud. I've talked about the fact that, how he moving, how he don't want to interview with people and this and that. It's like, dude, you got to have some kind of rapport. Have the rapport with the new media people. Fuck them old media people. Fuck them, man. Because they don't mean you know well. Say it all the time. Okay, we got 518 in the building. Who we got?
Hey, what's up, Stormy? It's K-Rod here, calling.
The phone man. What's good with you, K-Rod? How you doing this morning, bro?
Not much. I was very, very shocked last night, and that was a great fight, like all-time classic, hands down.
Why were you so shocked, bro?
Because I thought Terrence Crawford was like looking a little bit shaky in that fight, and Sean Porter, he performed well, but I think like late game, there was like a little sense of fatigue coming from Bud. But once Terrence Crawford like knocked down Sean Porter, that's when I thought like it was gonna end up in a knockout, and I was surprised that Porter's dad actually wanted let the fight to be stopped, and I thought that the stoppage was premature.
Listen, see, even you, bro, you be on my channel. You be sometimes in my chat. I don't know why that you didn't take to heed what I was saying, because one of the very first things I said, and salute to my man Trap House Boxing, who showed up in my post-fight show last night. He quoted me from what I had said originally about Kenny Porter. Because I said that Kenny Porter gonna end up stopping to keep Sean from being a highlight reel knockout. I said that. Kenny gonna look at him, throw that towel in there, or stop the fight and climb up on that ring apron and say, that's enough, son. That's it, son. And that's exactly what happened last night. After 2 knockdowns. And the 3 knockdown rule is in effect. So all he needed to do was go down one more time. But as I stated earlier in this show, Kenny knows that Sean was in there with the best finisher in the game. If not the best, the top 2. And he didn't want his son to be devastated. I can't blame him. He knows Bud since he's 16, 17 years old. He knows him. Bud wanted to fight Kenny when he was 16 years old. Something different about this guy. And that's why Kenny brought in those extra ears and eyes to help with the camp for this fight. I can't blame him. If you know Sean has run his gamut, who put him down twice in a round? We know AB got that flash knockdown. We know Earl got that knockdown where his glove barely touched the canvas. But if you've been watching my material, I said if that was Bud in that fight instead of Earl, Sean goes to the canvas totally. And what happened last night? Sean went to the canvas totally. Couple times in the same round. And was going to be stopped anyway. Yeah, it was the 10th round. They had 2 rounds to go. But Sean didn't have 2 rounds to go. Because if you look at that, what was it, the 9th round or 8th round, that's when Bud started catching up to him. Started hitting him with clean shots. It was just a matter of time. And 4 rounds to go is too long. When you got the killer like that bearing down on you. Yeah. See? Charlombus Mark out there says, you said it, Stormy. It's over, son. Yep. Go back and check my records, man. I covered all bases. I was asked by Trill Will yesterday on a panel with Tay Jones, how do you see him beating Shawn Porter? It's like there's a number of ways. One, catching him coming in, giving him angles, catching him with something he don't see. 2, Kenny stopping it. 3, he gets caught with something that totally turned his lights out. And you saw 2 of the things work out. Sean didn't see those shots. He went to the canvas. Kenny stopped the fight after that. It's as plain as day. But like I said, I'm kind of pissed that people don't pay attention, because I don't want to come on here and say, I told you so. But I was like, why don't you just listen sometimes? Stop being so damn biased. Stop being so single-minded for one person. I talked about this on my Friday night chop session this past Friday. People have a bias against Bud that I just don't understand. Even if all those other fighters weren't around, they probably wouldn't still give him the credit for being the fighter he is. That's a deep hate there, man. Because he's good. And if you don't want to acknowledge that he's good, that's on you. But he is. Hell, a lot of people didn't like the Patriots, but you had to respect the fact that they was just winning. Beating people. And Bill Belichick said it best. If you mad and tight about it, stop us. Right?
Yep.
Candy Slim 501 says, I agree that Bud was a bit off with his timing. However, he was landing that left to the body at will, and that was the key to everything. Absolutely. Those body shots. Shawn Porter is a highly conditioned athlete, man, for the sport of boxing. But you can't tell me that those body shots weren't taking something out of him. They were taking something out of him. It was just a matter of time if you get a chance to hit him on the chin. And I think some of that had to do with the inactivity. 1 year layoff is about the longest he's ever been off. And you know, you really would have liked to see him a little more active. But I do think if he takes another fight within the next few months, he gonna be all right. But he was strong last night. He was strong, man. He was strong. Did you see him cuff Porter behind the head and push him over there into that ring apron with one hand?
Yeah, like I was confused. Why didn't Crawford just press the action like when he got Porter to the corner?
Well, the thing is, his timing wasn't there. He started getting Porter nailing him later in the fight, close to the round that he got that the stoppage took place, because he was throwing the shots, but they were missing. That's timing, because they haven't been in the ring. You know what I mean? You can spar and all of that, but it's not like live fighting. And that's why I say he'd do well to fight again within the next couple of months, few months, to keep his timing and his shape. Not that he's been out of shape, but the timing is everything. And he's getting older. He's 34. If he don't fight more frequently, the drop-off can happen quickly, because you'll see that. Wait till you see next month when Triple G fights this Murata guy. He already looked awful in his last fight.
Zere's man.
Yeah, but he's going to really look bad against Murata. Not that Murata, I'm picking Murata to beat him or anything, but Triple G has slipped tremendously. That's why I scoff at the idea that they want to bring him in as Canelo's opponent late next year. I'm like, man, they just want to kick a man that's on his knees already. Salute to Devin Alexander in that super chat. He says, Porter himself didn't protest the stoppage. Why are we the people protesting? Salute, Sifu. Listen, man, if you don't think that Kenny Porter knows what's best for his son, I'm not going to go at it. I already said this way before the fight. I said Kenny was going to stop that fight if Porter got in trouble. I said that. He don't want to see his son quivering on the canvas or his eyes closed shut, and they got to administer help and all of that. He don't want that for his son, and he know who his son was in there against. I keep telling you, I've spelled it out already. These are people that's reaching for answers, man, looking for an excuse of something or whatever, but it's right there in front of your face, man. It's right there in front of your face. Shakur Stevenson, as great as he is as a young fighter, skill set and everything, he's not as dangerous as Terrence Bud Crawford, simply because he don't have that venom in him that Terrence Bud Crawford has. If he had that venom in him that Bud Crawford has, he'd be well on his way to being the next Bud Crawford. But not Bud Crawford. He's the first Shakur Stevenson, but I'm just saying he could have that similar type of aura and success. But that thing that Bud has in him, that's born in. Comes from the environment, how he was raised and everything. And it's not false bravado. It's not. There are certain people, you look at them and you be like, man, that, that's for real. It's like Evander Holyfield. And people kept saying, he ain't a legitimate heavyweight. He ain't a legitimate heavyweight. And he whooping ass all through the division. You could hit him a shot, you couldn't knock him out. You couldn't knock him down. It's like, this is something, you don't see this. This is rare. I had said that when Evander was a cruiserweight, he was like a cruiserweight Marvin Hagler, with the exception that he couldn't switch from orthodox to southpaw. He was just an orthodox fighter. But he had a chin, he had a determination, stayed in shape all the time, had fast combination, great left hook, excellent counter right hand. People didn't want to give him credit. Finally, when he beat up a disinterested Mike Tyson, which even if he was interested, it wouldn't have made any difference because he's more of a man than Mike Tyson would ever be. He whooped Mike Tyson, but then people finally started giving him credit. So, but what else you got, K-Rod?
Nothing. I think that's about it. I just hope that Errol and Bud can fight next. I actually wanted to touch up on that situation where Errol, he just walked out of the arena without stepping aside, let the ring to confront Bud after the fight. I kind of felt like that was a bad move as far as PR goes. I kind of felt like Errol, he should have walked inside the ring to confront Bud to promote the fight.
Well, that just shows how smart he's not, because that's the biggest payday of his career right there. And that was the most opportune time. You're live in the Mandalay Bay in Vegas, and this guy, your rival, just won against an opponent that you fought against, and he stopped the guy when you didn't. Remember we talk about strike while the iron is hot? The last time it was this hot, it was right after Earl defeated Sean. Huh? And then 12 days later, he had that car accident, remember? So it's like, you're getting a second goal. Why would you blow it? Get on out there and say, hey, man, great performance. Let's get it on.
Yeah. I just really wish Errol had done that because if I'm in his position, you know, a real champion should confront another champion to show that you're ready to beat him up.
Absolutely. A real champion should face another champion. And these two are the only two in, you know, many a divisions that you can say have different sanctioning body titles in their possessions, but are true champions and not titleists. So what's the holdup? But I'm going to tell you something. I've watched this play out over the past 4 years already. I don't like what I'm seeing. And I have taken the approach that Bud has stated. Now, Bud behind the scenes is still trying to get this fight made, regardless of what he said publicly. But what he said publicly was, that fight is behind me now. Well, guess what? It's behind me too. I don't give a damn. I saw Bud do what I needed to see him do in the fight last night, and that certifies my belief in what his abilities were. I don't give a damn if he never fight Errol Spence Jr. And I think that the people who like to support and follow Earl, they're good with that as well, because they know what's on the horizon if they do meet up. The greater challenge for Bud than fighting Earl would be to move up to 154 and take on the champions up there, whether it's Castaño, who Mel Charlo don't want to see again, or Mel Charlo. And I'll tell you something. He got the power. He hits Mel Charlo on the chin, he go to sleep too.
Oh, yeah.
He go to sleep
he
too.
him.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'll tell you this. He got far more spirit than Mel Charlo could dream of.
Yeah.
Far more. Once Castano fought his ass back, he didn't want no more. So that might be the greater move for him. Could you imagine if he jumped up there? Because with the WBO title, he'd be Mel's #1 contender right away.
I thought that would be Castaño, because Castaño is the champion, right?
Well, if Castaño is the #1 contender, is the WBO titleist. I forget who's got which belts because I'm not thinking of it right now off the top of my head. But yeah, Castaño too.
Yeah.
Bud will wipe the floor with Castaño because he's got a tailor-made style for what Bud is successful at doing. He's gonna come, and Bud gonna be ready. Then he's gonna go.
Yep. Oh man. But yeah, that's about it for me. I appreciate the call, and huge big shout out to Terrence Crawford. He earned my respect, and he's definitely being pound for pound #1. That's for sure.
Yeah. And before you go, there's a comment in the chat there. Dankfather says, y'all gonna learn about them Texas boys the hard way. Watch. We've already learned about them. They get busted in the butt, huh? Just like the Cowboys. And you gonna learn something about Texas. Texas ain't the world, brother, huh? Within these United States here, there's plenty of ass to kick, or plenty to kick yours. How you want it, as Tupac would say, huh? Ain't nobody worried about that. Texas. There's always been something wrong in the water when you only think that your region is the end all and be all. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
George Foreman was from Marshall, Texas, right? And Muhammad Ali did what to him?
He whooped him.
Yeah.
Annihilated him.
There you go. So, but yeah, thanks, K-Rod, man, for your call. Let's let you go so we can get one of these guys in there. Maybe even Dank Father want to call in and talk some Texas mess. Yeah.
All righty, Stormy. I will see you later.
All right.
And happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, same to you, brother. Same to you.
Yep. I'll see you around.
All right. And this pop-up has popped back up on the screen again. How do I get this thing off? Tired of this thing popping up on my screen, man. Okay, we got 504 in the building. Who we got?
Yo, Marriage Marine Carter, long time. I've been rocking with you for a long time. Stormy Beach is behind the scenes, man. I want to clear up that comment that was just made about Texas. If you really do your research, the Cholos, and I'm sad to say this because I'm from New Orleans, the Cholos are actually from Louisiana, bro. So
you said Cholos are what?
Claim them. They're from Louisiana. They're not even from Texas.
No, I was responding to Dank Father's comment about y'all gonna learn about these Texas boys. That's what he said.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And he's claiming people that ain't even from Texas. I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy even in his statement.
Exactly. And that's why I countered with, Texas. Texas boys get busted in the behind too, just like the Cowboys,
right.
Huh? We talk about that.
Right.
It's like, hey man, I'm from Chicago, bro. You think I'm afraid of that Texas crap?
Right. Right.
In Texas,
from New York.
Check it out, bro. In Texas, in the Old West, they carry the guns and everything, right? And they got license to carry and all that now, right? Well, in Chicago, They don't have license to carry, but somebody gets shot every day, huh?
Right. Right.
So,
exactly. And then another thing, man, being all over the country, bro. In any hood, it's a hood in every city, a city in every state. You know what I'm saying? So you can really get it anywhere, man. Like that's why I never understood this region thing. Oh, I'm from here, from there, man. Look, you can get it anywhere, bro.
Dude, you ain't never lied, and that's the point I was trying to make. You just said it a different way, but that's it, man.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I had to call it and add my 2 cents. And then also Earl Smith's from New York. He's not even from Texas.
Exactly, and I didn't even get a chance to say that yet.
Like, come on, man. Like, stop it. Y'all need to stop it. At one point, they tried to claim Regis, and but he's still repping New Orleans, so they couldn't really claim him because he's trained with the Cholos heavy and stuff. They try to get him to come over and claim Texas, but nothing against Texas, man. I'm just saying, man, y'all got to stop with that stuff, bro.
And look here, now that he done opened up that can of whoop ass, Dank Father saying, we talking boxing, ain't we? We were.
Oh, right.
We were until you start talking region stuff. And you think that ain't nobody going to stand up and rep their region?
Exactly. and it came out of, and if you go back and look further enough, Earl Smith said out his own mouth, he got a Jamaican background, but from New York and was raised in Texas. And even the Cholos, they came over when they was young to Texas. None of the dudes was born in Texas.
Look at he's still talking crap. I'm talking fighting, not street politics.
Keep talking. You can talk all you want, but you cannot dispute a fact. A fact is just what it is, a fact.
That's right, bro. But look here, man. Let's get back on the fight. What were your thoughts of the fight last night?
Man, Bud put in work, bro. But my bad, I'm driving. But I don't think that it should have been stopped because now this is me. You know, I did some amateur fights also. So if you pounding the canvas, literally punching it, like pissed off, it means you're still in the fight. Let alone your cognizance, let alone you have it on your faculties. Not only do you have all that, in addition, you're pissed off. So you are still in a fight in championship rounds. And the man has shown to go 12 rounds. He's shown he can get knocked down, get back up, keep fighting. I'm not saying he would have got up and won or got up and knocked Bud out. But what I am saying is he was not done at that point. And his father should have not thrown that towel in. Now, this is my opinion once again. He would have continued to take the same beat. Hell, we don't know. He could have got up and got dropped again and then got stopped. But my point is, we should have seen that. Let your son go out on the shield because that's the type of fighter he is. And one more thing, karma is a mother, is a son. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to curse. And that's my last point. He did all that hate and talked all that crap about Wilder. Now we can consider Sean Porter just a fun fighter. Not a great fighter, a fun fighter. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Well, I always maintained that he was a good fighter, but I didn't consider him elite, and I didn't consider him, you know, because there are fighters who have won championships, but that don't make them elite. You know, you can sometimes get your way toward a championship and take it from a guy who is simply a titleist and not a true champion.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think in the case of Sean, just like when he lost his title to Kell Brook, Brook was more talented, but Sean had a lot of what people like to see, aggression and, you know, that type of showing heart in there. But the skill set was subpar when you talk about championship level guys. If anybody out there thought that he, for one reason, for one iota, was going to outbox Bud Crawford in 12 rounds, no. Was he going to win rounds? Absolutely. But I'll tell you this too, and I said this earlier, and I'm not going to keep repeating this. Bud wasn't in there with the same type of intensity that he's had for other opponents. They're friends, and that friendship showed up in Bud's approach to the fight last night. It showed up. And had that been anybody else, Bud would have been trying to get him up out of there from round one. But it wasn't the case. And I think that Kenny stopped the fight because he knows these things about Bud. He knows that when Bud get a guy hurt, it's like, it's over. And Sean was hurt. Yes, he got up. That's what he's supposed to do. But you don't think that the dad knows his son better than anybody in the arena, anybody calling the fight, anybody looking at the fight on TV? You understand? It's like he knows better than anyone. And he don't want to see his son laying on his back unconscious. He don't. And he reserves the right to be able to pull that switch. You understand? He reserves the right to do that. Now, his post-fight reasoning and stuff like that, I don't necessarily want to get into that simply because whatever went on behind the scenes is between them and their camp. His dad spoke it out, but at the end of the day, his dad has to take the flack for stopping the fight, and he will. And I said he was going to do that way before the fight happened. When the fight was announced, that's what I said was going to happen. Kenny was going to stop this fight.
You called it, OG. You called it. But my thing is, then that's where that dynamic of that father-son thing come in at, because on one hand, like I said, we don't know what would have happened had he got up. He could have got up, rocked Bud, knocked him out, punched a chance.
That wasn't going to happen, bro. That wasn't going to happen.
And that's what my opinion also lines up with yours, because I think he would have got up and just kept getting hurt. Because like you said, Bud is a hell of a closer. He knows how to finish.
He had one more knockdown and the fight was going to be over.
Right.
This it's a WBO championship fight. 3 knockdown rule is in effect.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, I think Porter, he was still game, but he wasn't gonna win that fight though. He wasn't gonna win that fight.
See, this is the thing. Just like referees and judges, guys like yourself need to be consistent with your opinion on how a fight should be refereed and stuff like that. Because, and I can't state this enough, if you don't think Kenny know better than anybody, he does. That's his son. He didn't try to stop the fight with Earl and Sean, but he was wary of Bud the entire time. If you listen to the promotion of the fight, they never said nothing about Bud. They never got under his skin. They never did anything to aggravate the situation because they didn't want to give him bulletin board material from a boxing perspective. If they had done something disrespectful to Bud to make it think like, oh, you guys are belittling me, or you're doubting, you know, Bud would come out there and got that guy out of there within 5 or 6 rounds. But they played up the relationship. They spoke well of him and everything. And guess what? Porter almost made it to the distance. If it wasn't for that person who spoke to Bud outside the ring and said, man, you got to go get him. And Bud was like, I got to go get him? He was like, yeah. He's like, oh, okay, I'm going to go get him. He got right off of his stool. And next thing you know, within the next 15, 20 seconds, Porter was on the canvas.
Yeah. And then I think it also comes out to that style, too, because Bud style match up with that style. And that's why I don't, because the way Porter bends down and Bud was like connecting his punch where his head was going, Spence kind of didn't do that. So that's pretty much why I think he didn't stop it with Spence and he did with Bud, because Bud was gonna keep hitting him, keep meeting his fist with Porter's face, and because he's a lot more accurate, a lot more sharper. But my opinion though, I know you say they want to see the Spence Bud fight. Wouldn't you think Spence used his size on Bud? Because that's a totally different fight.
What'd you say? Do I think what?
If Spence and Bud meet up, which most likely won't happen, would you think Spence not use his size on Bud?
What size?
That'd be a different fight than with Bud for Porter.
What size?
His size, his physical size.
How tall is Spence?
So I think he's 5'10", huh?
And Bud is what, 5'8", right?
5'8", right, correct.
What's Spence reach?
I don't know off the top of my head. What, 70, 71, 72?
Bud's reach is 74.
74.
And Bud is a lot stronger. Bud is a lot stronger than people give him credit for. So basically what you're asking me is about the physicality of the fight. Bud don't mind contact, bro. Bud don't mind being physical. He don't. He relishes that stuff. Because he likes to be able to assert himself as a man. And if he has another man in there, another so-called alpha, he said this in interviews. Okay, let's go. Let's see how alpha you are. I know how alpha I am, so let's get at it.
My last point, chin for chin. I know Spence he wins in that category. Shall he hit Bud? Because I know what happened if Bud hit him. Spence and Sean have a beard. The Bud have shown to get hurt in fast.
Hold on, let me slow you down, because you're talking too fast now. You know what'll happen if Bud hit him. What will happen if Bud hit him?
Like me personally, I think Spence will eat it.
You a lie, and the truth ain't in you, bro. You're a lie, and the truth ain't in you, bro. Because you know why? I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you. No, you open this up. You open this door up. So now you gotta listen. This is my platform. Be quiet.
All right.
You open up this door. If you think Spence can take this boy's punch, he definitely gets knocked out.
I'm not saying
most of the knockouts occur, brother, from the punches you don't see. I've already said earlier in this show that Spence does not transfer from offense, transition, I should say, from offense to defense smoothly. Okay? Go back and watch his fight with Sean Porter. Sean Porter doesn't have the hand speed or the punch variance that Bud Crawford has. Bud Crawford likes to punch with guys. He's not afraid of contact. So if Spence is throwing his shot and Bud throwing his shot, if Bud's lands, Spence gets knocked out. If his lands on Bud, he could shake Bud, he could buckle him. He might even put him on the canvas. But I'll tell you this.
So you're saying
will you let me finish, please? See, that's what's wrong. Listen, there's a reason you got one mouth and two ears, bro. Because I'm not done yet. I'm not. And I'm serious here. Even if he does drop Bud and Bud is able to get back up, the fight begins right then and there. Now I'm done.
All right. One, I understand. So Bud gets buzzed or hurt or whatever, he comes back for retaliation. That's dangerous, for one, against a fighter like Spence, because going blow for blow, or you trying to get back, open yourself up. But that's not the point I'm about to try to make. You telling me that if Bud hits Spence, Spence is knocked out, but if Spence hits Bud, he's not.
I did not say that, brother. Don't put words in my mouth. Listen,
okay, so
I am of the
Spence,
intelligence that you can't play those games with me, okay? So please, when you call in here, let's have a real conversation. Don't call in here like some kind of fan guy of a guy, okay? Speak the real.
No,
I did not say that. There is no way that I stated that. There's no way that I stated that. I said if they exchange punches and Bud hits him clean, he goes. I said if he hits Bud clean, and rocks him or knocks him down, okay? When Bud gets up, that's when the fight starts.
All right. Fair enough. All right, that's my call, man. We just got to see the fight, because I don't agree with that. I think Spence.
I don't care to see that fight. I don't care
don't?
to see that fight, because they could have fought 3 years ago when both guys were in perfect health and everything, and your boy didn't want it to take place because he tried to put a price tag on the match between two championship caliber fighters. A fighter that was a champion when he was still contending. When he won this title from Kell Brook, Bud had already been a champion in 2 weight classes. So therefore, 60-40 to him was disrespectful, because you're trying to tell him that he is of a diminished, that his worth is of a diminished quality. It's not. But all of you have spoken about this and made him believe his own BS. But that's also a way to keep the fight from not happening. Because if you really think you the man, go on and fight the guy. Give him 50-50. Didn't Deontay Wilder give Tyson Fury 50-50 in the first fight?
Yeah,
because he wanted to fight. He wanted to give Fury the shot. And that was before all the other stuff happened. But we're talking about going in to make the fight. He offered him something that would get the guy in the ring. If you're the best, you're going to go out there and prove it. And then in your next fight, you'll make a greater purse. Whether it's a rematch or someone new. See, they got you guys shook and bought into this false narrative out here, bro. That stuff don't affect me.
I want to see the fight, bro.
You don't want to see the fight. You want to talk about how much better the guy you like is than someone else. That's what you guys like to do.
Oh, no. I specifically say who I think will win. That's it. But I want to see the fight.
There's nothing wrong with someone believing in someone. But when you totally don't want to acknowledge what the other guy is capable of, even in these things that I've been saying, and I've been critical of Spence, just like I've been critical of Bud in the past. But when I say these things, Spence has to be accountable for his actions. Spence's fan base has to be accountable for theirs. But if you really wanted the fight to take place, you should say, make it happen, man. Give the guy 50-50. Why? Because he is a 2-division champion when you just became the champion at welterweight. And he has merit. He has value. Has he campaigned at welterweight the entire career? Absolutely not. But if you really want that fight to happen, at the end of the day, it's 10% away from 50-50. Why not just make the damn fight happen? And here we are 4 years removed, and you guys are still on that crap. That's why I said I would rather Bud relish a new challenge. Go up to 154, fight Castaño, and then become the guy who got to unify against Charlo, and you whoop Charlo's ass. Now you've bested Spence in every damn thing because you become a 3 or 4 division champion. Yeah.
Hey, but at the end of the day, it's up to the fighters to make it happen. We can only want it. They got to make it happen.
No, you guys got to hold the guy you love so much, his dirty draws. You got to start talking, hey, man, just make the fight, man. Because he listening to you guys. Believe it or not.
Oh.
What is it called? Spence Nation? Isn't that right?
You like me? I don't know. I ain't a part of that.
You know.
I just think
you come calling on here, man, with that foolishness.
Come on,
you
man.
You know what it is. That's why you come. You come on here so you can start talking him up, but you didn't realize what you were going to get as a result of that. Because I'm telling you like it is.
Like, we both speaking opinions until they actually fight. So we really don't know.
The thing is, you trying to speak your opinion here against someone who is a little bit wiser than that. Because I see it from all angles. I don't see it through rose-colored lenses. I never have. That's the whole point.
I got Spence. It's simple. It's really simple as that.
See, you can debate the people in the chat or on other channels and stuff. That's fine. But I'm always going to tell it like it is, bro. Always. Sometimes it's going to sound like I'm all for one guy. Sometimes not. But I'm telling the truth, man.
And my last thing, we need one belt per every weight class. So this discussion right here don't even have to be in the future. That's what call.
What was that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I said, and the last thing, we need one belt per every weight class. So this discussion wouldn't even be a thing in the future.
Well, if you didn't allow your guys to start talking purse splits and stuff like that and just say, make the damn fight, man, maybe we wouldn't be where we are.
So this is the thinking about it. They've been split them belts up. All those different belts.
Listen, man. Listen. When Charlo drew with Castaño, they asked him, how about a rematch? You want to run it back? He's like, you got to talk to Al. You got to talk to Al. You know what he was supposed to say, right?
Absolutely. Make it happen.
Yeah. Let's do it.
He didn't want no more. You can tell after the fight.
Of course, he didn't want no more after Castaño started fighting his ass back in the early point of the fight when he hurt Castaño in one round and Castaño come back and hurt him in the next round. That's when he knew he didn't want no more.
Yep.
Remember, the fight doesn't start until someone is challenged. And then you have to come back to compete on that level of challenge. And when you don't do that, and you thought that the other guy was supposed to just lay down, it says more about you than the other guy.
Yeah. So would you say that's a bully mentality then?
No, that has nothing to do with being a bully.
If a guy challenges you, you pretty much done.
Did I say that?
No, that's what I'm saying.
That's improper.
So what was the case from your analysis?
Here it is for you. I'm glad you asked. You go to school and the teacher issues a surprise test on material that you've been covering for the past few weeks. And you're like, oh man, we didn't study for this. Maybe you didn't study. But because your lack of preparation, is the teacher bullying you? Or are they challenging you? Hold on. Are they challenging you on the material that you've been going over? Which is it?
It's the latter.
Okay. But some people in today's time will take the bullying aspect and make it their reality. Just like you asked me a moment ago, isn't that bullying? No, it's not bullying. If you're studied up, you're supposed to know how to deal with a bully. When I was
I
growing
never
up,
looked at it.
my dad taught me somebody bully you, how you get them up off of you.
Give it to him back. Give it back to him.
You can do it a number of ways, but my favorite was you go upside their head with something as hard as you can, and if you leave the white meat showing, they will have learned about you that day. That's my favorite. Because I'm not going to start nothing with you, but I'm damn sure going to finish it if you start with me. You understand?
One I keep adding on things, man. My bad. What they gonna do about this third title holder though at welterweight? Because it's not just Spence and Bud. You got Ugas out there as well.
Casualty of war. If they can't make the fight between each other, one of them will get to fight him. Or whoever he loses the title to, because if the next time he goes to a decision, they're going to strip Ugas. They're going to rob him. Because they never wanted him to have the belts to begin with.
Exactly. He's supposed to be a stepping stone for Pacquiao. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got, man. I'm going to let somebody else call in and finish listening, man. Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. And come back for some more lessons, man, because I ain't even broke a sweat yet.
All right, man.
All right. Peace to you, man. Thank you for calling.
Peace.
All right.
All right, OG.
Okay. Another great call there. Salute to Michael James, 616. I see you out there. Who else we got? Just trying to go over some names here. I see we had CB Sports TV. Salute to you as well, bro. Okay, we got 773 in the building. Who's this?
What's going on, Stormy? This Al, man. I just got a calling in about the fight.
Yes, sir. What's going on with you, Al? Welcome to the show, bro.
What's going on with you, brother? So I saw the fight, and it kind of played out kind of how I thought it would play out, as far as like, you know, one thing that I would say when I saw the fight that I thought that it's possible that Sean would get knocked out, but I didn't know for sure. Sean seems to get caught every time he ever got dropped was when he would be like lackadaisical, like when he got knocked down by Adrian Broner, or caught in between punches, you know, which kind of happened with Bud. And I know one thing with Bud is he's very surgical. The only thing that I have with the Spence thing, as far as like these fights, is I was just thinking to myself from what you were saying earlier. I said, kind of like Crawford said a while ago, he don't want no excuses. And I'm kind of the same way. I kind of feel like the same thing with Bud. It's like he took a while off, so his timing wasn't there. Things was off.
Right.
With everything that had happened with Spence, you know what I'm saying, as far as like the accident, now his eye messed up. I want to see the fight, but the thing is, it's kind of like he hasn't fought in such a long time. Personally, you know what I'm saying, I would rather see Spence take like one fight or maybe even two fights before that fight, the fight at the end of 22, only because if Spence was to come back and fight Papa right now, it's going to be all type of excuses on one side or the other. You know what I'm saying? Like Bud only beat him because he was injured, Spence not the same, etc. He can't take punches no more. And it's kind of like it kind of moves back to what Crawford said originally, you know? And I don't want that. I want whoever wins the fight, he won the fight because he was the better man. When I watch those fights, though, I will say the only thing that I say that I feel like makes this fight intriguing to me is because personally, what you said is true. I always saw that with Spence, even in his earlier career, he don't transition very well. Like he the type of guy, he put up the high guard, and then once you step back, then his offense goes. But at the same time, he don't have what some guys got, like the Crawfords, where in between those type of things, he can block a shot and throw a shot. He don't really show that very well to me as well. But despite all that stuff, you know what I'm saying, I just want it to be a situation where we know, like, nobody can make no excuses and say, like, oh, you know, Spence wasn't the same guy. His eye was messed up. His timing was off. You know what I mean? And that's the only reason I don't want to see the fight right now. I want to see Spence back in the ring. I want to see Spence beat Spence like he was before. We don't know if he ever beat the same Spence he was before. And that's the thing that I want. Because even like when I saw like the Wilder and Fury fight, as good as that third fight was, they both was out of the year for almost 2 years. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like a lot of stuff happened in between those fights. And I always feel like it kind of takes away from the fighter that wins the fight or the fight itself when it's always those doubts like, what would have happened, you know what I'm saying, if they would have fought when they both was active? What would have happened if this, that, whatever, you know what I mean? And I feel like sometimes as fans, we to your point, they should strike when the iron is hot. I do feel like a lot of fans, you know what I'm saying, they always, I think I said this the other day, I said, we more into the business of boxing than the businessmen in boxing. It's a lot of fans, they always talking about the business of boxing, but as a fan, I just want to see the fight. I don't really care who making what. I don't really care what's going on. I just want to see the best fight the best. But I don't want no excuses at the end of the day. So I just want to know, like, what's your opinion on that, considering the layouts that these guys be having? Because the one thing that I would say, that's a perfect example, when Wilder was fighting like every 3 months, he seemed more sharp. You know what I'm saying? It's not a lot of guys like Mayweather that can be out of the ring 2 years and then come back and look like he looked against Marquez. So I just want to know your opinion on that.
Well, first of all, sadly, the Bud Crawford-Earl Spence fight has gone the way of Lennox Lewis versus Riddick Bowe, and Deontay Wilder versus AJ, and, you know, a few other telling matches like James Toney against Nigel Benn, or Chris Eubank, or Roy Jones against those same two guys, or Roy Jones against Joe Calzaghe when Joe Calzaghe didn't wait for him to get much older. Fights that could have been made in a timely fashion. Bud Crawford against Earl Spence Jr. has sadly gone that route. That fight was never hotter than it was a couple of years ago. Well, what was about 4 years ago now, when you remember the video of them running across each other in the hallway at that event, and they were talking jibber jab toward each other and everything, and people were amped. People were like, man, these we got to see this showdown between these two. It didn't happen. You know, and it didn't happen because of poor judgment. And I'll say the judgment was over purses, you know, where someone thinks that they deserve a lion's share as opposed to the other guy not deserving a lion's share. And the fact that both men were world champions, one of them a multiple division champion. So how are you going to take the guy that's a multiple division champion who came out of an undisputed division up to where you are now and has basically the merit of being a champion, a true champion? The guy that you won your belt from, that wasn't a real true champion. He had already been beaten up by Golovkin, right? So these guys, I don't know if Bud, but Earl gonna be kicking himself, because shortly after his, you know, and I spoke about this earlier, shortly after his win over Sean Porter, unfortunately, he had that accident. And just like a lot of critics have said, you don't know how that will affect him over the long haul. Dude, that guy could have died. Just as easy as he lived, he could have died. We don't know what type of internal injuries or whatever. Just because he checked out medically and everything, it could be some kind of trauma that show up later. We just don't know. But when they had a chance to strike while the iron is hot, they did not. If it were to happen now, and Bud is successful, the first excuse people are going to make is, well, if Earl hadn't had that accident, or Earl didn't have the eye injury, or Earl this, that, this. They're not going to give Bud credit for anything. Just like they're making up excuses right now over his victory over Shawn Porter. Well, if Shawn's dad would have just let him go out on his shoe. If. And Bud said that before the fight. He said, man, even if I beat Shawn, they're not going to give me credit for it. He said that. And he didn't say that like with a defeatist attitude. He said it like because it's been the game since he's knocked out 8 straight dudes at welterweight, bro. How many welterweights in a row has Earl knocked out since winning the title?
Mm-hmm. And something you said that I think that really struck a chord with me is the reality that, like you said, you got to live a fighter's life. And Earl, I don't know how he's been living lately, but I know before the accident, he wasn't living a fighter's life.
Yeah.
And that stuff catch up to you. It always catch up to you.
That's
and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, to your point, it's like, I want them to fight, I really do, but I don't want no excuses one way or another. I want to see the best guys fight the best guys, but it is those intangibles. And it's like, that's why I said I just want to see Spence back with some good competition before that fight, because I want to see like Floyd Mayweather. One thing I say I liked about Floyd Mayweather is he will fight guys off their best victories. However people say they felt about it, he did. He fought, remember he was supposed to fight Berto, but then Berto ended up losing to Ortiz. Then he fought Ortiz, and then vice versa. You know what I'm saying? He wanted to, like, Canelo kept calling him out. So it's like Canelo never fought anybody. He beat Trout. It wasn't the best looking fight, but he still beat Trout, who had just beat Cotto, and et cetera, et cetera. I feel like that's the best time to make those fights, because when you fighting guys, like, perfect example, I use Canelo. When Canelo fought Triple G, he fought Triple G off a performance that wasn't looking so good. Now, I still give him credit for that fight, because Triple G, regardless of how people feel about him, he's a good fighter, and Canelo beat him, and not too many people can beat the guy. But at the same time, it leaves the door open for people to make excuses.
Right.
So I feel like if Bud was to fight Earl right now, right after this fight, it's going to be all the excuses we just talked about. Oh, well, he just had an accident. Oh, his eyes messed up, etc.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I want whoever wins that fight, it's like, you know what? This guy was looking superb. This guy was the best. The guy won. And I just feel like, to your point, maybe that time they moved past, because we'll never see that. Just like we'll never see, like, the pinnacle that could have been with AJ and Wilder. We'll never see those things because circumstances and the business. And I think, to your point you said earlier, the fans get in the way. A lot of the times fans are so radical, they don't want, they say they want their guy to fight, but they always make excuses about why they guy shouldn't fight somebody. Like, I was on, go ahead.
No, I was going to, or they put up roadblocks,
Yeah. Yep. I was just on Facebook the other day, and I seen some guys, and they were saying something about, like, who was more radical, the Canelo fans or the Pactards or Maytards or whatever they said. And I was telling somebody, I said, it doesn't matter what you want to call it, whether it's one fanboy versus the other fanboy, everybody make excuses for their favorite fighter. And the problem that we have is when you're making excuses for your favorite fighters and say, like, oh, well, my fighter makes more money, or my fighter makes this, it's like, how do you want to see the fighter you don't? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care they're not paying me, so why do you care?
Right.
I mean, if you really want to see the fight, let's see the fight. You know what I'm saying? But so many people, they have this protective type of mentality over their fighters that they don't want to see it. So that was my main reason to calling in, because I just want to see your opinion on that, because as much as I want to see this fight, I want to see it on the up and up when nobody can make excuses. So I appreciate talking to you, brother, and I think that your breakdown has been very good on a lot of these fights. And I kind of called a lot of stuff like you saw, because I said that I think that Porter, I didn't say the thing about Kenny Porter, but I did tell one of my friends, I said, I think that Porter going to jump in and get caught with something. And it kind of played out like that. So you was right on with that, man. You was definitely spot on. So
And
I
the
appreciate
reason,
the work that you're doing.
let me share this with you. And the reason, and share this with you, the chat, and any other people prospectively watching. The reason that I made the initial comment that it was going to be Kenny Porter to step in and stop his son, you know, or call a fight for his son if he was in a bad way, is because he knows Bud Crawford better than all of you, better than me. And he knew what Sean was up against. If you go back and you listen to that Blood, Sweat, and Tears documentary, which was pretty darn good, by the way, for both guys, Kenny was talking about Bud, his personality, his character, his fighting spirit, all of these things, which also led to him speaking about bringing in some extra help for working with Sean to prepare for Bud Crawford. He knew what Sean was up against. The fact that Sean came out and had the success that he had is admirable, because Bud was handicapped by his feelings for their friendship.
Mm-hmm.
That's a reality.
I agree.
And
I definitely agree on that.
if it were not for that, Sean wouldn't have had the advantages that he had in the fight and the success that he had, because Bud would have had a different approach with his intensity of how to handle Sean and stuff like that. It was always going to be a little bit difficult because of how Sean fights. But what told me otherwise is when I saw when they got together physically and he picked Sean up and shoved him off back into the ropes, and then he, on another occasion, he was grappling with Sean and lifted him off the canvas, and then yet and still on another occasion when Sean rushed in and he cuffed him behind the head and slung him right into the ring apron with one hand. I'm like,
Yep.
This kid is strong as hell, and these people can't see this? They can't see what he's doing? And as I remarked earlier in this show, this is the biggest I've ever seen Bud look at welterweight. After rehydrating, he looked like a welterweight last night. Body filled out completely. He was strong as an ox. And Kenny knew all of these things better than any of us, which is why once he saw Sean hit that canvas the second time, he said, that's it. I'm not going to let my son get beaten up by this guy and become another highlight reel knockout. That was his decision. Regardless of what he said when they post-fight interviewed him or whatever, he was protecting his own interests, which was his son first, the fighter second. Because long after Sean fights, he's going to forever be Kenny's son. And he don't reserve the right to have to see his son laying unconscious on a damn canvas as the last fight of his career or whatever.
Exactly. You know, one thing I was talking to my friend about the other day, I said, when I see Bud Crawford, you know who you remind me of? People laugh at this. I said, a lot of people can't see this, but Bud Crawford and Hearns and Wilder, they the same type of people. And what I mean by that is this. They are those skinny dudes who deceptively strong.
Yes.
Like you look at them and you say, man, they skinny, but they wiry.
Yep.
And anybody who knows when you're dealing with those type of guys, you'll be very surprised. Because I remember I was in the military, right? I was probably like 175, right? And there was guys in there that was like 230 or whatever. They'd be like, man, how you hitting 285? How you doing this? Whatever. How you got these stomach muscles? And I used to be able to outwork all these guys. But I was way smaller than all of these guys. And it's because it's kind of like the wiry strength versus like the bulk. You know, and I think that's why a lot of times people, they look at you and they have a perception of you that's not actually reality. It's genetic, you know what I'm saying? I look at, like you said, when I saw Bud, when he stuck there, I said, yeah, Bud ready. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing when I see like Hearns and even Wilder. Like some of these guys, they have like the genetics that they can present themselves in a way that might throw off the competition, because the competition is looking at them like I'm bigger, I'm heavier, whatever, not really understanding what they actually get in the ring with. And I said, the last thing I would say is that I feel with Bud, I think a lot of the hate comes from Bud, to your point, he's just a fighter. I think that Bud is just a homebody. I always respected Bud as far as like the way he holds down his family. He's not really out there like that. And I think that's off-putting because we live in a society right now where people want you to be flashy. They want you to do this, that, whatever. So you be out there and they like, oh, why he not talking to the people? One thing I will say about Bud that I always like is that's the fact that you never really see Bud say anything off code. You know what I'm saying? He always just kind of give a few hints there how he feels, but he don't say very much. And I think that people want more from him, but because he don't give them more, they find a way to hate the dude. You know what I'm saying? Especially, you know what I'm saying, with Bob Arum. To your point you said earlier, it's like, why be mad at Bud? He's just trying to get the biggest fight, but not be mad at Arum. So I'm glad that Bud said what he said in the post-fight interview, like, yo, I was in this situation this whole time, and you couldn't get me to fight. So I'm gone. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate that he said that because it gives a light into how he's been thinking, even if he never really verbalized it when he was there. So I think at this point, anybody who wants to fight Bud, it's all on them at this point. You know what I'm saying? There's no more excuses. Just like there's no excuses for people like Devin Haney. Yo, I'm a free agent. Anybody who want to get this work, let's get this work. But like I said, man, I think that it's more business people that's fans more so than the businessmen in boxing. And I feel like we just got to step back, let these fighters do their thing, and stop taking sides because ultimately in the end, we losing as fans. So I appreciate you, Stormy, man. I just want to call in, give my 2 cents, and keep up the good work because I think that you do a great job, especially with the breakdown. So,
well, thank you for that, brother, and I appreciate your call. Feel free to call back anytime during the show, bro.
Definitely, man. You take care of yourself, and happy holidays, man.
Same to you. Thank you. All right.
All right, thanks.
Peace. Yeah, yes, sir. That was a great call there. We've had some tremendous conversation on this today. A lot of people participated in the chat. A lot of people smashing that like button without me begging and campaigning. I appreciate that because, you know, I get tired of doing that, to be honest. Get totally tired of it. Okay, we got 816 in the building. Who's calling? Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
My quick thought. Salute, Stormy. This KP from KC. What's up, man?
Hey, KP. What's happening with you, bro?
Nothing much. Running around. But, good fight. It ended like I thought it ended. I told Reggie it was going to be a late stoppage. Like Bud said, styles make fights. Terrence Crawford was turning Sean Porter like nobody ever turned Sean Porter before.
Yeah, Sean is usually turning the other guy, right?
Yep. Terrence Crawford has all the tricks. And that's what's going to make that fight with Spence even better. That's a better fight than the Porter fight because Spence is going to be close quarters and Bud is going to try to get the distance. You know what I mean? So whoever can win that range is the one that can win that fight. I think it's a very close fight. Being at the stage that Terrence Crawford is right now, I would have to favor him, but I'm still an Errol Spence fan, so I'm going to go with Errol Spence to win that fight. But I can really see Terrence Crawford winning the fight, too. That's just the way I see it.
Well, that's interesting because if he gets hit on the chin by Bud Crawford, that's going to really show him something. It's going to show him something. And Earl gets hit. I don't know why people think he has this great defense or something. He gets hit. What was his name? Not Devin Alexander, but what was the other brother's name that Hunter trained? Can't think of the kid's name now. He retired after his fight with Earl. But that kid hit Earl a few times, but he couldn't hurt him. Can't get hit by Bud Crawford, man. Can't get hit by that guy. He's got power in both hands. I've seen him knock people out with the right. I've seen him knock people out with the left. And he put Sean Porter flat on his butt with that uppercut that kind of landed to his chest and chin area, similar to how Holyfield dropped Mike Tyson in their first fight, when he kind of hit Mike in the solar plexus and Mike went down flat on his feet, on his butt. Peterson, thank you. Lamont Peterson. I couldn't think of his name at the moment. Appreciate that boxing conversation with Reggie Owens. Salute to you. Yeah, man. It's a good fight, but it has lost so much of the luster that it originally had. And I do kind of blame Earl for that. Oh, we lost the caller. KP. Call back in, KP. But I think the next challenge will be for Bud to go up to 154. But that's if he wants to go up there. That's the way I see that. See if he was going to call back. KP. I don't know why a couple of calls dropped today, which is weird. I don't know why that is. Yes, sir. Is that KP?
No, sir. This is Roderick.
Who's this?
Roderick Freelo.
Roger. Okay, welcome
Yes,
to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir, man. Yeah, man, I just wanted to start off by saying, man, I love what you and them brothers be doing with the boxing, representing our people. Between you and the singing OG, let me tell you, brother, y'all are my favorite guys to listen to from the LDBC, brother.
Thank you for that, bro. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you do a good job of keeping it 100 going into that fight. I thought, quite frankly, Crawford really walked him down and stalked him for the whole fight, and was setting traps for him. I really before also I was leaning to think maybe Spence. I was giving Spence the edge in a close 50-50. I would lean with Spence a little bit, but based on some of these remarks that you're making some good points. I'm starting to change my mindset on who will win that fight.
Well, you do have to take into consideration
Yes,
the
sir.
fact, and great points there, brother, but you have to take into consideration the fact that people like to throw around the phrase styles make fights, but don't really even know what that means. Okay? I can tell you what it means because I'm studied up on that, but that's not boasting. It's an explanation, because when I'm able to tell you why or how, that only allows me to reveal the platform and depth of, whatever it is when we're talking about the advantages and disadvantages of the fighters. Bud Crawford is not respected for whatever he's done by a lot of these people out here in the community. Some of them out here in the LDBC, let's just be honest. But the thing is, he's a proven winner, okay? And proven winners go through a lot, especially when people don't respect them. You have to understand, that man has been hit, he's been shook, he's been so-called dropped by Green Machine, but I consider that like a flash knockdown. He only went to his knee while he was trying to hold the guy. He got hit the shot, at Buckland, he went to his knee, but it's not like when Sean got dropped by AB when he was on his back. I consider it a similar knockdown that Earl got against Porter when his glove barely touched the canvas, right? Just barely touched the canvas. But that was a knockdown because his glove touched the canvas, but it wasn't like he was on his back. Well, Bud put Porter on his backside twice in one round, which totally is different than anything else, right? So
I agree.
when you put these things together, the two men have advantages, but Bud has the stronger advantages that matter. Remember, I said earlier in this show, Earl doesn't transition from offense to defense very well, or vice versa. Bud Crawford is a counterpuncher. He can be an aggressor. He can walk a guy down. He can set traps for a guy. So if a guy is not that defensively responsible or smoothly transitioning, this other point I'm getting ready to bring up once again during this show is Earl is definitely an offensive guy, right? But Bud likes to punch with his opponents. So if a guy is not good and mindful on defense, he's going to be susceptible. And you have to understand that Bud can throw certain punches to make you throw a punch so he can counter you with the real punch he want to hit you with. That's ring IQ. You know what I mean? It's more than just hunting a guy down, banging him to the body. Most real fighters know that if a guy wants to work your body, he's going to be open somewhere. Sean found that out. Those body punches that Crawford was hitting him with paid dividends in the later rounds because Sean wasn't as elusive and couldn't get out of the way like he did earlier. So those who were scoring those rounds early for Sean, because he was getting off, he caught Bud a few times. You know, he was doing some good work, but Bud was putting in that body work, bro. He was, you know, he was putting something in the bank, and it paid off. See, that's a complete fighter. Complete fighters can do these type of things. You can be winning the rounds, and they take it away from you. Just take it away. Remember in the last fight, Kell Brook was so-called winning the rounds. Then all of a sudden, Bud made an adjustment through that like hook over his jab, and he didn't see it, and the fight was over just like that.
That's true. I see the same thing with Tank and Canelo. It seemed like they'll say, "Oh, the guy's losing the fight," but really, it just seemed like it's just a matter of time. And I definitely agree with you with the father stopping the fight. I mean, apparently his legs was gone. That's why he fell that second time. It seemed like, you know, I don't care about him punching the mat. The fight was going downhill.
See, there's another way to read him punching the mat. Because, see, people always want to think about game, heart, warrior. Listen, when he punched the mat that second time he went down, I'll tell you what I think he was thinking. He's probably thinking,
damn, this is over with.
Yep. You know why? Because he's a commentator now. He covers the sport. Remember, he said this in Blood, Sweat, and Tears. He's like, I do think, because he said one of his friends asked him, do you think that, you know, covering the fights and stuff now, being commentator has made you a better or a smarter fighter or whatever? And he said, first he said, no, not really, whatever. Then he thought about it, and he's like, well, in a way, yes, it does. So when he hit the canvas that second time, he's like, man, this dude gonna come for me now. He's like, damn, I didn't want to be in this position. You understand?
I get that.
That's why Kenny stopped it. Because as long as Sean could have stayed upright, it would have been okay to let the fight continue. Even if he got wobbled around. But once you hit that damn canvas, a fighter like Bud Crawford smells blood in the water like a shark.
It's a wrap.
And he is one of the best at ending the fight when he got you hurt. And Sean, that's one place that Sean didn't want to be. And he found himself there. And it's late in the fight. He's tired. You understand? He's not physically stronger than Bud, even though they thought he might be. But they found
they said
that
he didn't
out.
want to fight on the inside. They said he can't win if they get on the inside. And Bud was walking him down the whole time.
I said a long time ago, Bud Crawford is a 5-dimensional fighter. I got a show I do called the Tuesday Tussle, and I talked about the 5-dimensional fighter. He's one of a couple of fighters that I put on that show as an example because they can do it all. And mind you, being able to switch orthodox and southpaw is not even the highest level of being a 5-dimensional fighter, but that's the one thing that completes the process of being a 5-dimensional fighter. Bud Crawford could fight on the outside. He could fight on the inside. He could be the aggressor or he could be the guy that move around. Some people have tried to say his legs aren't what they used to be. He don't have to use them unnecessarily. What does it look like for a 34-year-old fighter to be running around the ring unnecessarily when you could step around your opponent, take a couple of steps this way,
Right.
step back the other way, shoot a jab off of it, get back to the position that you wanted to be in originally. Those are the type of things that make a difference. And he's complete like that. The only department where that you can kind of like maybe question something might be the chin department, where he's been rocked, but he ain't been dropped down on his back. You understand?
Gotcha.
And had to take a count and get up. But I believe, just like I said to a couple of callers ago, I said that if he fights Earl and Earl is able to put him on the canvas, because Earl can punch, I said that he got so much in him, that's when that fight begins.
I'm with you on that.
Because the man who gets up is not the man that he put on the canvas.
And he's been on the canvas and gotten up and knocked people out as a result.
Exactly. And that kind of thing right there speaks volumes, because you don't know about the resiliency of a fighter until they've been put to task in that. People like to talk about green beans dropping them, right? But what the hell happened immediately after that?
Night.
Green beans got dropped once, and when he got up, he took a bit of the counter, he got up, and he looked across the ring at Bud, and Bud was like chomping at the bit, looking at him like a pit bull ready to be unleashed. And Green Beans had a look in his eyes that's like, oh shit, I done woke the sleeping giant up. And the fight was over within moments after that. Because you know why? Bud is the kind of fighter that relishes those challenges. You know, he don't mind getting dirty. See, that's what a fighter don't mind getting dirty. I got a cut? Okay. Huh? You never saw him dab at the cut once, did you?
No.
Even against Kell Brook, he had a little bit of a cut or abrasion over his eyelid, which looked kind of ugly. But he never dabbed at it. That dude is a fighter, man. He's a fighter through and through. It's going to take a hell of a guy to beat him. It's not going to be a guy get in there and get lucky. You're going to have to be able to be smarter or equally as smart. You're going to have to be equally as skilled. You ain't going to be no lucky punch type dude getting rid of him in there. That's not going to happen.
But I definitely agree with all of that, brother. I appreciate the time, brother. I definitely appreciate you taking time and talking with me, man. Happy holidays, and keep up the great work, brother.
Yeah, man, same to you, and thanks for calling, and, you know, call again, bro. Call again. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
All right.
Peace. Yes, sir. What a great call. What a great show, man. This has been outstanding. I want to say thanks to everybody that was out there. Hit that like button. People in the chat, you guys were really contributing to the conversation and everything. I know some things were said that some of you guys don't like or whatever, but hey, that's life, huh? You got to take the bitter with the sweet, huh? Yeah, that's the way it happens. Boli, I'm sorry, bro, but that's going to be it, man, because that's my time, you know. But call back next Sunday, man, and chomp it up. Even if you want to come back to the subjects of today, that'll be great. I have no problem with that. But we were witness to a great fight last night, man. Shawn Porter doesn't have anything to hang his head. The man is a hell of a warrior. He's fought everybody out there literally now. And you win some and you lose some. But that's what happens also when you fight class of the division. Some you're going to drop. You know, some you're going to drop, some you're going to win. But great stuff, man. I want to say thanks to everybody that participated today. You guys showed me a lot of support. I appreciate it. The super chats that came in, the new subscribers that came in. Great stuff, man. I'm beyond moved. And we look forward to having another great show next week. Doing this call-in show has been very fruitful. And it's obvious that a lot of people are enjoying it as well. So I want to say shout out to the LDBC. You guys, come on back for some more. I got the Tuesday Tussle coming up this week. And I think the subject is going to be something that's important in relating to last night's fight, meaning I'm going to take an element of boxing and use last night's fight as an example to carry the conversation forward. So be on the lookout for that. Peace to everybody out there, man. You guys, I see some thumbs up. People co-signing, oh, great show. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Because a lot of times when you get to, doing this, you don't get a chance to call out everybody and everything once we get to cooking real good, because that's just one of those things, It's like you can't get to everybody, but that's a good problem to have, when you can't catch up with everybody's comments and everything. I'm forced to read those super chats because I got to acknowledge people who want to support the show and the channel financially. So look at Mr. Gumbo out there putting up those Priest Pie May emojis. Yes, sir. I like the emojis, man, but not too many people use them. So I'm always happy when I see them out there, those emojis. And what was that, President Jafar? I seen you out there. You were quite active today, man. And that's okay. I like it, That's how I know if people are settling in and getting comfortable, because they, engaging in the chat. But great stuff, man. Great stuff. Let's see. Candy Slim 501 says, yeah, man, great show. 704 Joe, you came in a little later, but I saw you out there, bro. He says, thank you, Sensei. Thank you, man. You guys make me cheese, man. I'm like, hey, I like the fact that there's a lot of support. Now, you know what? I'm going to say this. There's still people out there, man. They could write in the chat, but they don't. They be listening, but they don't say nothing, I don't do that when I go visit other content creators and channel operators. I let you know I'm there, man. But it's a shame that people still like to withhold that, because they don't want to show that they're either supporting you or not supporting you, or making like, oh, I don't. They're doing the Keith Thurman, huh? Who is that guy, Stormy? I don't know who he is. Yeah, right. That's why I've seen people use some of the music that I use on my videos and shows. I was using the stuff first, man. I'm seeing it out there. I'm like, okay, yeah. And then certain things that I do as far as my productions, I've seen that too. But, hey, it's just like curb appeal. You keep your grass cut and everything, you might influence others to trim their lawn, huh? Now, if we can just get everybody to wash their ass, we'll be on something, huh? Because it's people out there that don't like to do that, right? You know it. Oh, yeah, Stormy going to say that. He going to say it. So, yeah, thank Father. Even you was out there trying to give it to me, but I was coming right back at you, brother, because I be ready. And then next time you ready to call in, just call on in so I can really give it to you straight, huh? That's right. KP says, hey, man, how is Kurt Sugar doing, if you don't mind me asking? Hey, man, Kurt is having a rough go, man. He's having a rough go. That's why we talked about you guys. You really need to send your prayers and everything his way. He's dealing with some health issues with this diabetes, man, that it's rough, man. Just know that it's rough. So, let's see. Elias Adamakis says, I'm sorry, English is not my first language. It's hard for me to write. I really like your show. Hey, man, that's all right, man. You can still write in there. We'll try to read through your comments and everything and not make fun of you or anything, because you explain yourself that English is not your first language. But I appreciate you digging the show, digging the channel. Don't just watch this show, watch all of them, man, because I think I got a lot of positive content to offer you guys. So, yes, sir. But we're going to get on out of here now, man. You guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. This is Stormy B, man. This has been Answering the Bell for this Sunday, November 21st, 2021. And we out.